Hello there. In this episode, Anthony and I sat down for an interview about indie communities. This is a two-part episode. The first part can be listened here in the Wannabe Entrepreneur, and the second part can be listened in Indie Worldwide's podcast. The links will be in the description. Enjoy.
It is the Wannabe Entrepreneur Indie Worldwide crossover episode
crossover.
featuring
This is our first
National
time.
Dish of Portugal.
We are in Portugal. It's so weird. I don't know if I speak a little better.
This is the audience. This is my first time ever doing an in-person podcast.
Me is the second.
This setup is so legit, in my opinion.
This is very professional.
Very
Everyone
professional.
at home, I hope you're enjoying. I hope you're enjoying as well.
The quality of this audio video production.
Yeah. Anthony, welcome to Portugal.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And you've been here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks already?
About that, yeah. I've lost track of the time already.
Okay. And what is your first time here?
No, I've been in Lisbon once before. It was
Mhm.
February 2020 for about a month.
Okay. So
Yeah.
not too long ago.
A couple years. It feels like a long time ago. It was like immediately before the pandemic. I was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's like the last month when we still lived in a pre-pandemic.
Yeah. What year
World.
are we in actually? I forget sometimes. I was like, is it 2022? Is it 2021?
Yeah, it's 2022 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years. You were here for a month, and now you're back.
Yeah, back for another maybe 2 months this time. And
Okay.
I have to say, Lisbon is a lot nicer in the summer than February.
Yeah, February. I think it's the worst month to come to Lisbon. If I had to pick
It was
the
kind
worst
of cheap,
month,
which was nice, like
yeah.
Airbnbs and stuff.
It's very rainy. It can get rainy. Depends. You know, the weather changes a lot.
It was
but-
damp. I got sick like right away. I don't think it was COVID. I think it was just had a cold.
Okay.
Maybe it was though. Maybe I was
Yeah.
like,
You didn't
Ground
get
zero.
tested?
it was before anybody was doing that. Like people were still
yeah.
making fun of the China virus.
Yeah.
I remember right after Lisbon, I was in like Faro, and then I was in Spain. I remember like being in a hostel in Spain, and everybody was like, "Nah, like it's just the news.
Yeah.
Like it's no big problem." Like this dude sneezed on my face, and like we were all laughing about it. And then I went home. I was like, "I'm fucked.
I will die.
I'm gonna die." And then like 2 days later, Italy shut down, and then like 2 days after that, Spain was shutting down. So I like fled the country basically.
Yeah,
Got an
yeah.
earlier flight, went to London, left London the next day. London shuts down. I'm in Canada. Canada shuts down. It's like it felt like the walls were closing.
And
in.
then you eventually went to New York.
Yeah, I rented a car and drove across the border
That's
back
crazy.
to America.
It's
It was weird, dude.
Did you
It
feel
was
like
weird.
that you were running from like a virus or like a zombie? Not the virus.
It
was
felt
a
like a
virus,
zombie
actually, but
apocalypse,
like zombie
absolutely.
apocalypse. Yeah.
And like the drive from Canada to the U.S. was so eerie because the highway was empty, and they had all these like highway signs along the road. So empty highway, just me and like 18-wheelers and signs that are like "Stay home, stay home,
Shit.
don't go anywhere. If
It's-
you
yeah,
stop on
it's
the
so
bridge,
weird.
don't get out. Don't get out of your
Yeah.
car." And then I get to the border. I didn't even own a mask yet, and the border guards are I'm like, who are you? What are you doing here? How did you survive? And they gave me a mask, and they're like, all
How
right,
did you survive?
be
That's
safe,
amazing.
you know. Like, and then I drove home and stayed at my parents' house for the next 6 months, which, by the way, is like the perfect place to survive a zombie apocalypse. Upstate New York.
Yeah.
We've got everyone's armed. One, food self-sufficient. Everyone's farming. There's like Amish community out there. Like
Yeah.
if there's a place to survive the apocalypse, upstate New York, I would say.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't even reveal. You know.
Yeah.
No, go somewhere else. Go to Portugal.
Isn't it?
Well, you know, and now I'm back in Lisbon.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisbon, exactly. So the best city you've ever known. So you're back in Lisbon.
Mhm.
It's better. It's more sunny, I guess, than in February. And we have here. Dun, 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 now we need like this pastel de nata, which you never tasted before, right?
For the purposes of this podcast, I've never had it before. Yeah.
Anthony's
Reaction-
having his first pastel de nata.
We're pivoting to reaction
Yeah.
videos. No more of this like founder content. It's just reaction videos now.
Yeah. So
What do we say in Portuguese for cheers? Yeah.
for cheers, we say there's two ways. You can say saúde,
Saúde.
or if it's with glasses, sometimes we use the word chin chin,
Chin chin. That's
which
cute.
is it sounds kind of Chinese kind of thing, but it's the clink of
The glass.
the glasses. Yeah,
That's cute. Well, so
let's do so it. All right.
delicious. This one's really good. Really buttery.
Is your first time having? You have a napkin there?
Not from Monte Korea.
This is yours if you want.
Oh, thanks. Delicious. I should have brought something too.
Do you think that this is better than the pastéis de Belém?
Yeah. It's been like 2 years since I tried that one, but this one's better.
No, we just have
I have no idea. No.
one 5 minutes of eating pastel nata.
Oh, the best content. It's really good.
Do you have anything like this in the US?
Not really, no. Like, you can get pastries with custard and stuff. Or like a donut filled with cream.
Would you say it's the same?
No, this was kind of different.
Oh wow, this was good.
That's good.
It was a good idea to run to the bakery.
I agree. Thank you.
And now I will drink a coffee from my WBE mug.
Logo's out. Yeah, I think you really went up to me on the swag.
Yeah, I feel a bit bad. Shall
You
I bring?
swagged out.
Shall I bring your sticker that I have there so that you can?
Oh, I've actually got them in my. I always have the stickers at the ready.
All right. Do you
Why
think we
did you-
should introduce ourselves first, or do you think everyone knows us already because we're so
We're
big?
so famous, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. This is Tiago,
Anthony,
host and founder of the Wannabe Entrepreneur podcast / community.
hosting founder of the Indie Worldwide. It's the same podcast /
community.
community. We are competitors and best friends.
Yeah, basically. I've enjoyed getting to know you. We've talked before on your podcast, but we met for the first time in person 2 weeks ago, I guess. We went to the
Yeah.
bar.
With some nice Nepalese food.
Yeah,
Very
that was
authentic.
delicious.
And then went to a bar. It was also nice. And I remember the first time we chat via in the virtual world. And I guess you were like just woken up or something. So I remember like your voice being so low. I was like, wow, he has a very low voice.
It's
Yeah, I
very
even
shallow.
had like difficulties. I was trying to like change a little bit the equalizer to make it a little bit more. I was really, really low.
You don't want to know the number of events and like podcast episodes where it's the very first thing I've done that day. Like, not even brush my teeth yet. Just like
Yeah.
roll out of bed.
Really?
But yeah, dude, that's
crazy.
like I don't wake up until I have to most days, and then I work until I fall asleep. It's kind of like how I'll do it.
But
so.
today you wanted to be here at 9 a.m.
yeah,
So what about that?
because I'll wake up early if I have a reason
Right,
to.
right,
So
right.
I try to schedule things in the morning so
Yeah.
that I'm right away, like
Yeah, I
awake
know,
and
I know.
moving. But
I'm the
otherwise,
same.
I
I'm
stay
the
in
same.
bed until
Yeah.
I have to.
I'm the same. I also need some motivation. Maybe sometimes I think I should try to change that to be a little more productive.
My only hack is like just schedule meetings in the morning and then that
Yeah.
gets me up. Well, because once I'm going, but
Yeah.
I won't.
But
get
I
out of
always
bed.
feel that I'm waking up and people realize that I just woke up and they were like, "Wait, isn't it like 10 or 10:30?" Like,
It's good you have the short hair. You know, you don't have the bedhead
Oh
situation.
yeah,
I
you
do.
can, but I get my eyes. Like you can see in my
Eye
eyes.
drops.
Yeah, eye drops. You think
Yeah,
it changes?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's trick.
That's what I use.
Yeah. So we are both working or building a community for indie makers.
Yeah.
And
How long have you been doing WBE?
I've been doing WB since I would say I started for real like in November
November.
2021.
And then
So,
how long were you working on it for Pretend?
for pretend? So I guess we can already get into a little bit of the story how I came up with the idea of building the WB. Because it's kind of I never planned it. It was never something that was like, you know what, I will build a community. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that there was a possibility to build a community. This could be even a business. So I quit my job in 2021, so last year, around the summer, the beginning of the summer. So it was beginning of June, and I had this idea that I wanted to focus 100% in my project because since ever that I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, when you have these kids that they tell you since I was 8 or something, and you want to be a doctor or something like this.
Yeah.
I felt that I never had any passion for that, for anything. It's like I wanted to be, I don't know, something. I was like a football player or something, this kind of utopic dreams. And then but now if I think about it, if I go back to one of my early memories, it was like me and my friends making these kind of bookmarks and selling to our like colleagues. Not colleagues. We were like, I don't know,
Friends.
but we were in first grade
Other
or
kids.
second grade or something. We were kids.
I wish kids would call each other colleague. That'd be so cute. Just like 5-year-olds, like, yeah, my colleague Sarah was pulling my hair today. She's a meanie.
Maybe that's
Brought it
this
to
fancy-
management.
Maybe those fancy schools were like
This is how private school is.
yeah,
right?
private schools were like super rich. Yeah, so I remember like selling this at some point. The teachers told us that we couldn't make money out of this, but I remember like actually selling, and the kids would give their lunch money or something. And so,
Yeah.
by the way, bullies, you don't need to threaten people. You can just sell them bookmarks.
We used to make like origami ninja stars and sell those. It's like
Yeah?
2 sheets of paper. You turn them into a ninja star. You can really like
Wow,
do some damage with that. So
I would
kids love
love
them.
to. You
$1
need
each.
to teach me.
Steal
I'll
the
do that.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I still remember, but I'm sure I could find a tutorial. I used to make ninja stars, little like paper balloons and cranes and stuff.
Yeah, and sell it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, the ninja stars especially, kids would pay like $1 for them.
That's so interesting. We
Yeah.
literally started our business with a piece of paper. You know, when
Yeah,
there's like
that's
you
all
just
you
need a
need.
piece of paper, and that's what we needed.
Just need
Yeah.
paper and then how to fold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. So
I mean, you had to you had bigger dreams because bigger body. You had the opportunity to be a footballer. Me, I was little from the get go, so I was always an entrepreneur.
Well, I mean a soccer player, not like I don't know if
Yeah.
you're thinking about the American football.
I feel like soccer players are still
Yeah.
like they're big and athletic and they can.
Yeah. Well, you also have
But not
small ones.
Messi,
You have Messi, yeah. But the problem was not my
Athleticism.
my athleticism or my stature was like I was just never good at it.
Yeah.
I know I always played football.
I think your problem was the athleticism then, right?
Yeah, I guess yes, the athleticism, but I was good at other sports, but never like soccer. Well, I was not extremely bad, but yeah.
So why did
Soon
you?
I could see that
Why did you
would
quit your
never-
job in 2021?
So 2021, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to focus.
What were you doing before?
So before I was a software developer,
Okay.
I worked at the Trivago Hotel Trivago. You know this company?
Yeah.
And then it was funny because then I left Trivago. I went to work in another kind of travel industry startup, very small, 15 people only. It was super fun, a completely different situation there because we were just 15 and you can really feel your impact. And then COVID hit, and then this company was bought by Trivago. So then I was back at Trivago. And then, Caroline and I wanted to go back to Portugal and think, okay, this is the best opportunity now because COVID is hitting and everything is so messed up. Everyone is working from home anyways. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to work at Trivago anymore. It's my opportunity to quit my job. And then in Germany, it's great because if you quit your job, you get unemployment money as well. So you just get blocked for 3 months, but then they pay you. So I was like, okay, I'm basically being paid to do my own stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a great timing to do that. And I started by working. Bless you.
Thank you.
I started by working on another project, and at the same time, I started this podcast, The Wannabe Entrepreneur, as a way like I love podcasting, and I just wanted to vent, a way to kind of speak about my journey. And then people liked it, and I continued, and then I created a way to somehow make money, which was memberships.
So it's podcast first, then community.
Exactly. So then I at first I was like, okay, you can just support me like Patreon, but then I wanted to give something in return, so I started adding people into the Slack channel.
Right.
And then I started also adding the people I interviewed to the Slack channel. But I had no idea this would turn out to be a community. I thought that normally these Slack channels, like no one uses it. But then people just like chatting a lot with each other, and they had a lot of fun, and they were sharing their projects. And then around November, that's when I realized, wait, maybe this is the product,
Yeah.
not the podcast. This is not just a supplement of the podcast. This should be its own entity. And that's how I started.
It's kind of interesting, like the parallels. So yesterday I was talking to Daniel Vassallo, who like also
Oh,
has
yeah.
a community.
That was fun.
Yeah, but he's told me something really similar, like during that conversation, which was his community started as just on Discord as just like a way to kind of coordinate the courses he was doing, because he was running these like small bets courses, and he phrased it almost the same way. He was like, "Oh, like maybe the community itself can be a product."
Yeah.
But it started the same way, like. He was just adding people from the course as like a way to have one channel to talk to them all. And then, you know, it like kind of naturally became an active community. He was like, oh, maybe I'll just sell memberships to this.
Yeah. And he's making tons, right?
He's doing really good. I think he was saying he's doing like 30 grand a month from his community. But I was
30 grand?
Yeah, I don't think it's
my
recurring
God.
though. I think they're like
It's amazing.
one-off. But you got to compare like the size of his audience, right? Like he's got 100,000 people following him on Twitter. So that's like a huge platform to reach a lot of people.
Yeah. And I would love to get into what are your thoughts on this kind of businesses, because a lot of people might even say that this is those who can do it. There's this saying: if you cannot do, you teach. In this case, if you cannot do it, you basically start
a community.
I'd love to speak about it, but first, I would love also to hear your story on how you started Indie Worldwide.
Yeah, so it was kind of the other way around. We started as a community, and then now we also have a podcast and other content.
Okay.
And I started the podcast just as an excuse to talk to interesting people. And,
That's a great way to do it,
for the community. So anytime someone actually listens to it, it's like a kind of a bonus. Like I already got the bug. I got to talk to someone interesting. You know, so I started mine like almost 4 years ago now. I was nomadic. I was starting in-person meetups. So I started Indie Hackers Medellin, Colombia, Indie Hackers Mexico City, Indie Hackers Boston, Indie Hackers Worldwide. And then as it started to take on a life of its own. So at first we were just a virtual version of an in-person meetup. We'd meet once a month on Zoom, just like chat about what we were working on, started to add people to Slack for convenience. Once like that started to take on a life of its own, I still didn't think of it as a business, but just as like a group of people that I wanted to be friends with.
Right. Because it was for free
to
join,
free.
right?
It's free. Basically, we started charging not for access to the community, but for access to one-on-one introductions.
Right.
About a year and a half ago. That was free too until the members of the matching club were like, hey, Anthony, like, this is kind of valuable compared to everything else you're doing. So let me pay you for that. It's like, oh, you want to pay me? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was just charging like, I don't know, like $40 one time and raised it, okay, 60, okay, 80. And like, so the first year, that made like $5,000, and then we also made some money from sponsorships, and that was last year. And then this year, I started charging monthly for access to the whole community, so access to the Slack, access to the one-on-ones, access to like our partner resources and everything. And people started to pay. I was like, oh, okay, well, so I guess this is a business after all. Maybe I should quit consulting, which is the other thing I do. It's like fractional CTO type consulting. And just see how big I could make this. So 2 months ago, I quit consulting and went full-time on Indie Worldwide.
Yeah. And I've been extremely jealous of your growth, because you said, like, you know what, I'm focusing 100% in the community. And then every day, it seemed that your MRR was like doubling. It's like, 100. Oh, 300, 500.
Yeah.
And it's now what? 1,000?
It's right around 1,500. We hit 1,700. Then I screwed something up in Stripe or whatever, and like I broke the signups. Then I turned signups off for a week. So this last couple of weeks, we've been like, and then I also made it easier for people to manage their own billing. So we had some churn. Now we're back down to like 1,500. Now I've turned signups back on. So hopefully it can start to grow again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a costly mistake. So you started making money, and I guess now that we kind of introduced a little bit how we came to the community world, I guess we can start tackling these kind of questions, which is, first of all, what is the benefit of joining a community for indie hackers? In our case, for indie hackers, but can be a community of anything really, right? So what do you think is the benefit?
I think it depends on the type of community. So there's like membership value communities where you join for the other people who are already a member. Right? So like you join
Right,
a
yeah.
golf club or like not a, what are they called? Like a country club or whatever. Even if you don't like golf because you want to meet other rich people who like golf,
Yeah,
right?
for networking.
Yeah. Then there's other communities that are like information or knowledge based. It's like, oh, like there's information being shared here that I can't find elsewhere. It's like everyone here is working in finance or something. We share tips or whatever.
Right.
Or there's communities where it's like based around a goal. It's like, so we all want to become really good at knitting. And so we're joining the knitting club to learn how to knit and get better at that.
Yeah.
So I think a good community is like some combination of all those things. Like Indie Worldwide, you can join for the membership. You can join because of the shared goal. And you can also join because you can like find out the answers to questions there you might not be able to find elsewhere. How do you think about it?
Yeah. No, I think you summarized it really, really well. I do think that people normally join communities, but again, I'm mostly in our world, in let's say the indie hacking world, because I don't know much about the country clubs and everything. But what I've realized, what I've noticed, that either people sometimes join because they are desperate to showcase their products. So they are trying to do it everywhere. So they do it on Reddit first, on Twitter, and then they try to find Discord channels or Slack channels. And I think,
We call those spammers.
yeah, they're called spammers, or to be honest, I've been one, and
Yeah.
sometimes I am one. So
I don't think that's necessarily a bad. Like, I think it's not necessarily a bad sign for an entrepreneur to be a little bit too aggressive on marketing. Like, I think it's something a lot of people learn.
Yeah.
Like, first it's like, oh, okay, I got to post everywhere in order to get any attention, and that like kind of like aggressiveness, I think, is a good sign that they are moving in the right direction. But you kind of have to figure out like, okay, like this is not that effective. Let me find better ways of getting my message out there.
exactly.
So like when I started Indie Worldwide, like part of it was like, oh, I want a place where I can post stuff and not be banned, because like that sucks. And so a lot of times when people post things and it's not like adding value to the community, I don't like kick them out right away. I delete the post and I tell them like you can't do this because of X. Like here's a different idea for how you could promote yourself, but have it give value to the
Exactly,
community.
yeah.
So like the other day somebody posted, it was just like a link to their podcast. I'm like, like don't post that.
Yeah.
If you want to post it,
Sorry, by the way.
talk about how you've grown your podcast. You know, like what, because we're focused on founders and like
Right.
growth and marketing. So like,
Right.
how have you been marketing your podcast? What's working?
Yeah.
Like what things have you learned from it?
True, but I still feel that obviously you soon realize that you cannot just go there and put your link and expect for people to, oh, a link, let me click. Like most people won't do it, and you realize that you need to do it in different ways, right? As you said, you need to create content that is valuable around your product, and a lot of people do this, for instance, on Twitter, indie hackers, Reddit. This kind of ways so that people won't call you fully a spammer, but I would say that your intent is still to do marketing, right? So you join a community to do this kind of marketing. And a lot of
I
people
think
say
this
that
is much more of a problem too in the free communities, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Once
yeah,
I put a paywall on Indie Worldwide, spam basically dropped to zero, because if you have to pay to post, you're just not you're gonna join for better reasons.
exactly. So that's what I was about to say as well. So one reason is for marketing, and I see a lot of people doing that, joining communities for marketing. The other reason is to share a journey and to learn, as you said, with others. And that's what I noticed when I started the WB space, is that we didn't have, even now, we didn't have any spam whatsoever. So because of the paywall, as you said, people came and they just wanted to meet other like-minded people. So that's another reason why people join, especially in indie hackers. It's really hard to find people with a similar mindset. So you can join a community to find people with a similar mindset.
Yeah, I think of it sometimes as like the value of an audience, right? So there's a lot of value to having like your own personal audience. You can ask questions and get them answered really quickly. You can get attention for ideas. You can get people to support what you're working on. And I think you get a lot of the same benefits by joining a private community too. It's like people pay attention to each other so much more in those spaces that you can come in with
Yeah.
no audience at all, but because you're in the same space and everyone knows you're coming from the same place and you already like passed whatever the gates are, whether they're like, oh, you have to be on the podcast first, or like you have to pay a membership fee, that they're much more invested in you to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
So when you post something, you ask a question, you actually get an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know, you could spend 3 years building an audience first and get
Yeah.
some of that same value.
Yeah,
But-
you can also exactly.
so
So
do you want to spend 3 years or, you know,
Yeah.
$30?
it's a growth hack as
Yeah.
well. Like you have this audience, and you have also something that I really appreciate that I don't like about Twitter and these other let's call them communities. Some people call them communities. I'm not sure if they're social media or communities, whatever. But the audience on Twitter, for example, is never really yours. You're like renting this audience, and you lose it sometimes if there's an algorithm change, if you get banned. If you stop posting, you don't have this audience anymore. And if you stop posting for, let's say, a year and then you return, you post and then no one will answer you.
Crickets.
Whereas in these communities, the audience is always there as long as you're paying, right? But
As
if
long as
you,
the community is active, right? Like,
yeah, as long
that
as the
garden
community is
has been
active,
cultivated.
you can just answer or ask a question and people will always answer you most of the time if it's a good question. But yeah,
So that's why you join a community. But why do you start a community?
yeah, it's but before we go to that, there's also another, and you mentioned it, another reason why I think people might join communities, as you said, is to learn from others. So in the WB space, people are kind of all in the same level. We are all wannabe entrepreneurs or like bootstrappers, but in the starting level. So no one is really making a lot of money out of that. But I guess, for instance, if you join a Daniel Vassallo kind of community, or maybe Ramen Club, which
I'd say Indie Worldwide.
Indie Worldwide as well?
Like
Yeah.
we range from idea stage to $1 million business stage,
Yeah.
even like unicorn company stage.
So do you have people with making that amount of?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you motivate these people that are in another level
Yeah.
to be there and pay for it?
I took a really direct path for that where when you join Indie Worldwide, part of what you're paying for is introductions to other founders making the same amount of money as you are.
Okay.
So you tell me how much you're making, and then I introduce you to the other people at that level.
Okay. But you want to be introduced to someone making more money, you know?
You want to be within like an order of magnitude, you know? So if you're making $1 million a year, I'll mostly introduce you to other people at that same level or a bit above or a bit below.
Okay.
You know?
So you have this matching service that you need to do it yourself. You need to.
At first, I did it by hand. Then I wrote some code to do it, and like Google Sheet plus Node.js scripts. Recently, we switched to a platform, like a no-code tool called Intros that we're trying out. Seems to work just as well, so I think we're gonna stick with it.
So how does it work? People introduce their data there, then it matches.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is pretty straightforward. It works pretty similar to the way I was running it before. I just had this like algorithm that would look at several factors, but mostly revenue, and then try to make conversations from that.
That's interesting.
It works really well. Like that's the first thing people wanted to pay for was the intro service.
Yeah. I think you tweeted recently about it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I read some tweet where you said that if you want to know why people buy your product, talk with your users. Or was it you? Something like this?
I don't know. I tweet a lot of shit.
Yeah. No, but
Gotta maintain the
that's
audience.
kind of the yeah, that's the point. But that's kind of the point, right? Like you need to ask your users and really understand why they are in your
Yeah.
community, and you've done that as well, right?
Yeah, like everything I ship for Indie Worldwide is based directly on talking to people in Indie Worldwide. So I
By
don't really have
chatting?
to guess what to build. Yeah, because I'm talking to them all day long. You know, I'm like just as embedded as you can possibly be with that crowd, right? So there's plenty of product ideas, and so this like intro service came from like how do I get more people to be friends with each other in this group? I don't want them just being friends with me. So then I may as well just do that on Twitter. I want them to be friends with each other. Where the value is the network, not myself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I was like, how do I get people to talk to each other one-on-one? It's like, well, let me just literally introduce people one-on-one to each other.
Yeah.
And so it started as just like a Google form. People filled out their information. The first round, I just like went through it manually. It's like, okay, Vulcan should talk to Mark, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And the second the second week, because I was like, all right, let's do this every week. I was like, oh shit, like this is already like traveling salesman hard kind of problem because I have
Yeah.
to factor in who's met who already and like plan around that. So then I wrote a script that kind of like figured those things out for me. And I just like every week I'd make the algorithm a little bit better, a little bit better. Now it kind of looks like the Matrix is running like when I hit it because like
It's so
taking all
cool.
these things
That's
into
so
account.
cool. Yeah.
But then like someone had the idea to turn that into a SaaS, not from our community, but like outside of our community. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll switch to that because it came with all kinds of nice to haves like scheduling and hosting and email reminders and stuff that I didn't really want to implement myself as a solo founder.
How much do you pay for that service?
I don't think we're paying for it.
Really?
Because the founder joined the community.
Ah.
I had actually met him in New York in person a couple times, but then he joined the community. And then I was like, all right, like, if you're going to be in this community, then we'll definitely go ahead. Like, I try as much as possible to use community members' software. So, like, the best way to get me to buy something is to join the group, you know?
Now you'll have a lot of people joining.
Literally, like, I've switched out
pitching to you.
Typeform for Tally because Marie's been in the community for a long time.
Yeah.
Or we're hosted on Hopin because the founder of Hopin was a community member. We use Featherblog because Banu's in the community.
Yeah.
Like literally, like the whole Indie Worldwide like community
Yeah.
platform is just built on Indie Worldwide members
Interesting.
tools.
I also use, but more personally, I use some tools from the community. I use Hively from Luca that basically automates your DMs. It's really cool. And I use FameWall from Gotham that kind of creates these review walls from Twitter. So it's really cool. And so yeah, those two. And normally they offer like cheap prices for community members, which is always nice.
I think you've done a really good job at building your own solutions. Even like the one-on-ones is like the only thing I've implemented myself. You got all kinds of integrations in your Slack.
I love that actually.
They're sick.
I love this.
I love your streak bot.
Yeah, the streak bot. It's something that I've created, which basically we have a group called What I'm Doing Today, where people every day go there and share what they are doing, and then I realized that people were actually active. It's actually, by the way, a funny story. I started by calling it the stand-up. You know what's a stand-up? So the stand-up, for the ones that do not know, is like normally in the tech world, you have these meetings every day, normally in the morning, where the developing team gets together and they say what they're going to work. So I thought, okay, this is cool. I will create it. And no one was using it first. And then even a friend, they said like, maybe we should archive this channel. It's not very good. I archive it, but then I still felt the need because, as you said, I'm still very embedded in the community, and I am a user. So I changed the name to What I'm Doing Today, and then people are like using it quite often. And then I was like, you know what would be cool? To create a way to keep your streak. So if you do it every day, it increments. And then people loved it. They want to keep the streak. They would just like say, today it's a holiday, so I'm going, I don't know, to the beach with my kids. Sometimes
Just
it's
to keep
not
the
even
streak.
Yeah, just to keep the streak. I think now Ian is the one that has the highest streak, which is 140
Damn,
days.
that's great.
It's crazy, right? Like it's absurd. It's really cool. And if he misses one day, he will lose everything.
The
So-
activity level in your Slack is like really phenomenal. Like I feel like you said,
thank you.
like there's no like dead weight in your Slack right now. Like nobody is a spammer. Everybody is invested.
Yeah.
And I think because it is like a small group, like everyone seems to participate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like I snoop on everybody's Slacks, right? And yours has got very high engagement,
Yeah,
proportional, especially to the size of the community because it's not a huge group, but it's really active.
Yeah, I believe so. Even though it changed, like there's months where people are more active, months where people are not as active, and I do get a little bit anxious when
it
I
drops.
see, when it drops.
Yeah,
Do
around
you, do you
August.
feel the same? Yeah, August was man.
I definitely
August was
keep an
terrible.
eye on the engagement rate. Like I pay the most attention to how many people are posting and like the quality of those posts. So it's definitely something I'm paying attention to. It doesn't necessarily make me anxious. Like our pace is kind of set by our events, right? Because we're like live events first and Slack is kind of a bonus. Now maybe it's flipped
Right.
a little where it's like Slack and then live events, but we've always been really focused on like, okay, at least once a month we're going to have like a live meetup online. That's always
Yeah.
been like our core thing, right? So, because people can be a part of Indie Worldwide and just be the email intros or just go to the events or just be in Slack. So it helps it not be so much just about the one thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
There's like a lot of different touch points.
I totally agree with the event situation, and that was one of my mistakes. I haven't organized an event for a long time, too long, because I can really see that after an event, people get more together and they get more active.
Yeah.
But one thing that was really hard is we have people from all over the world, and you as well. And it's extremely hard to find a schedule that works for everyone. So normally I would just schedule for Europe time, and sometimes some people from Asia would join, but mostly was only people from Europe, and the others will be like, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
It's like literally impossible to please everybody.
Yeah.
So I found the best is to focus first on just having one event that's around the same time and day every month. So people that can plan around it start to plan around it.
Right.
What I want to do over time is have hosts in the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And so like we have one event for each of them every month. Right now the way I do it is like, okay, like this is usually we have at least one event on a Thursday around like 12 p.m. New York time, which works for people in like Los Angeles, San Francisco. They get up a little early, and it works all the way into like India. They just stay up a little bit late. It covers most of the world.
Yeah. 12 p.m. What's that UTC? You know?
It's like 5
UTC. Okay.
Yeah, and then whenever I have a guest, then I just work with their hours, and so we'll have some events that are like Asia time or like SF time or Australia time or whatever.
Yeah, now I'm trying out. I created 3 different groups. One is I call it Americas, then the other one is Europe and Africa, and the other one is Asia and Oceania. And I'm actually planning 3 different events for each time. And let's see, we are having our event actually tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
So let's see if this works better. Sorry?
Thanks for the invite.
No, you are in the group. You can see it. You actually do it public, right? Oh, no, it's only people in the community that can join.
I've experimented with both. Lately, all of our events have been public to join. Like anyone can join them, but we only advertise them in like spaces where there's a lot of indie hackers hanging out.
Yeah.
Might switch that back to private again, where it's like members only, or do some kind of hybrid. I'm still like experimenting with what works best.
Yeah, ours have been only private, but you're welcome to join. You have 2 schedules tomorrow, one from Asia time and the other one Europe time. But you can join any.
What time is the Europe time one?
Europe time, I don't wanna trick you. I think it's like 4 or something. But a lot of people are going to hopefully. Participate in the Asia one, which is 10:30 here in Portugal. So I'll also be there. I think it'll be fun. And this was the first part of my conversation with Anthony. If you want to hear the second part, just go to Indie Worldwide's podcast. The episode link will be in the show notes. If you want to support the Wannabe Entrepreneur, you can listen to all the interviews I have for you at wannabe-entrepreneur.com/episodes, and you can become a member of the WB Space. It's $10 per month, and you get to meet a lot of bootstrappers from all over the world, all of us there, building our projects together. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you in Indie Worldwide.